Good evening, welcome to Brass Tacks. I'm Zakir Jacob, live tonight from the city of Bengaluru. Just a few hundred kilometers from here is Kanyakumari, the southernmost tip of India, and that's where Congress leader Rahul Gandhi began his Bharat Jodo Yatra from. Over the next 5 months, Rahul Gandhi and over 100 other Congress colleagues of his will be walking 3,500 kilometers from Kanyakumari, the southernmost tip, all the way to the northernmost part of India in Kashmir. They're calling this Bharat Jodo. But the BJP is quick to say that this is not Bharat Jodo, this is Parivar Jodo. Because how can a person who is not connected with his own party, how can he connect with all of India? So what is Bharat Jodo about? Is it about unifying a divided country? Or is it about restoring the grand old party's legacy and its glory days? Or is it simply about protecting one family's interests? But first, the story of the day so far.
Rahul Gandhi flagging off Congress's Bharat Jodo Yatra from Kanyakumari, which will go all the way up to Kashmir. 3,570 kilometers, 12 states, 150 days.
What is happening in the country that so many people, millions and millions of people, feel that there is a need to take an action that brings India together. The BJP thinks that they can divide this country along religious lines. They can divide this country along its languages. This country cannot be divided.
Over the next 5 months, Rahul Gandhi will walk with 118 Congress leaders and stay in a container.
राहुल गांधी जहां रुकेंगे वो ये कंटेनर है। इसी तरह का गांव उनकी यात्रा के दौरान बसाया जाएगा, जिसमें लगभग 5 दर्जन कंटेनर हैं। इन कंटेनरों में 2 से लेकर के 12 तक यात्री रुकेंगे। कुछ कंटेनर में एसी भी लगाई गई है, यहाँ सोने के लिए गद्दे भी अंदर लगे हैं।
The Padyatra comes at a time when the Congress is gearing up for a new party president, a possible non-Gandhi one. The party claims the march will be a turning point in Indian politics.
क्या विभिन्न धर्मों के लोग में एक नफरत नहीं पैदा की जा रही है? क्या भारतीय संविधान के जो मूल स्वरूप है उस पर प्रहार नहीं हो रहे हैं? भारत जोड़ो यात्रा देश के लिए हो रही है, देश के लोगों के लिए हो रही है।
But Congress's so-called new beginning was mocked by the BJP.
कांग्रेस का समय में तो भारत 2 टुकड़ा हो ही गया था। अभी भारत जोड़ने के लिए तो कांग्रेस को पाकिस्तान जाना है।
कभी कभी बड़ा आश्चर्य भी होता है, जो अपनी पार्टी को जोड़ नहीं सके वो भारत जोड़ने निकले हैं।
Even the opposition chimed in.
जो ये कैंपेन है ये कांग्रेस छोड़ो रोकने के लिए भारत जोड़ो शुरू किया गया है।
Curiously, Priyanka Gandhi's businessman husband Robert Vadra made an appearance in the Bharat Jodo Yatra posters, sharing space with his wife and in-laws.
It shows that this is not about Bharat Jodo. This is about परिवार को जोड़ो. This is about भ्रष्टाचारियों को जोड़ो. राहुल को नेतृत्व से जोड़ो. प्रियंका को पद से जोड़ो और रॉबर्ट को पार्टी से जोड़ो.
So amidst growing fissures in the party, is the Bharat Jodo Yatra about reviving the Congress or the Gandhi Parivar?
All right, joining us on the talking point this evening here on Brass Tacks, Aishwarya Mahadev, spokesperson of the Congress Party, will be joined by Dr. Sudhanshu Trivedi of the BJP. I'm also joined by Ghanshyam Tiwari, Samajwadi Party spokesperson. Kailash Adhikari is Managing Director at Governance Now, and Radhika Ramaseshan, Senior Journalist on the broadcast this evening. Let me start with you, Aishwarya. The BJP says, how can somebody go out on a Bharat Jodo Yatra, someone who could not even connect with his own party, who could not Jodo his own party, how can he connect with the masses of India? This is just an exercise in saving the family, in protecting the interests of the family. This has nothing to do with Bharat Jodo. Please respond. The BJP says, how can someone who could not even connect? Aishwarya Mahadev, that question was to you, ma'am. All right, we'll try and go to Aishwarya Mahadev in 1 second. But Ghanshyam Tiwari, you want to take that question?
Good evening, Zaka, to you, my fellow panelists and the viewers. Two things are extremely important as one thinks about Bharat Jodo. That who are the people behind Bharat Todo? The people behind Bharat Todo pushed an agenda of daily Hindu-Muslim debates on their favorite media channels, including the News18 group. Not CNN News 18, but including the News 18 group. It is obnoxious and toxic, the kind of debates that India has faced. Where are these debaters when Bangalore is flooded? Where are these debaters that now there's a learning gap in India among the children from the past 2 years of COVID results? Where are these debaters when the youth are not able to find jobs? So Bharat Todo was a propaganda launched by BJP with behest of noted media channels by pushing debates on Hindu-Muslim agenda and hate every day. And the BJP spokesperson gained infamy not just in India, they gained infamy across the world for their toxic commentary on television and beyond. And we have an information and broadcasting minister whose famous Goli Maro is a speech that anyone can find. So in the backdrop of what stands today, an India whose harmony is in shambles, an India where the opportunity for youth has dried up. At this time, anybody across the country who focuses on building unity in the country, bringing harmony and bringing the agenda back to education, jobs and harmony is a good step.
No, so let me ask Dr. Sudhanshu Trivedi if he has joined us. Sudhanshu Trivedi, please respond as we get... All right, he hasn't joined yet. Aishwarya Mahadev, is she there? If Aishwarya Mahadev, the charge from the BJP is that how can a person who could not connect with his own party, how can he be indulging in Bharat Jodo? And what is it that you're trying to fix, something which is not broken? This is what the BJP is saying.
Good evening, Zaka. I think first and foremost for the Bharatiya Janata Party that spends every day trying to tarnish, diminish and devalue the existence of Mr. Rahul Gandhi, today they're quite in a flutter when they react with so much agitation and angst, where you have even former ministers and senior leaders reacting and trying to obviously downplay the phenomena that has occurred today. The fact of the matter is today, Bharat Jodo Yatra is beyond one person. It is being spearheaded by Mr. Rahul Gandhi. The masses there for him are for all of you to see. But the idea of Bharat Jodo is, Zaka, simply, Bharat is as much a feeling as it is a geographical entity. And today, you're seeing the sort of hate between communities, hate between faiths, hate between people of different states, and you're seeing it being used for political ploys today. And you're seeing the country at unprecedented lows, whether it comes to employment or whether it comes to, your income generation, or even if you look at the status of several sections of society. The Bharat Jodo Yatra is basically for the Congress leadership to traverse a large length of this country to understand what the ground reality is, one, and also give them the reassurance that they are there with the people. This is our movement back to the grassroots. And for all the BJP's talk about, they're disconnected from the reality, that criticism that they have, isn't it fitting that the Congress wants to go back to the grassroots? And today they want to try and diminish, take away from the importance of it. But the masses today, the sanctity of the program, and you will see every single day.
No, the point is that admittedly, no one is saying that there are no challenges facing this country. Yes, unemployment may be a challenge, price rise may be a challenge, but I'm not sure, and this is where the articulation is missing as to how Rahul Gandhi or this Bharat Jodo Yatra is going to offer an alternative or solutions to those problems. But be that as it may, let me ask Dr. Sudhanshu Trivedi, who's just joined us, to respond to Aishwarya Mahadev's specific charges against your party. She is saying, and the Congress party is claiming, the need to do Bharat Jodo is because you have Todod Bharat.
Actually, this is nothing but another futile attempt by Congress party to relaunch and re-establish Rahul Gandhi in the politics, because he is a very peculiar example in the entire Indian politics. Rahul Gandhi is neither the Congress president at this time, nor is the leader of the opposition. But he is leading the yatra and everybody is behind him. And if he would have been a general secretary or vice president as he was before 2017, and he was anticipated as an emerging young leader who is likely to take over the party in due course of time, even then that could have been understood. But he has already relinquished the charges. So look at the travesty of the honesty. When Rahul Gandhi resigned after 2019, he said that he is not ready to take any responsibility further. And now, that person who has shed off their responsibility, he has been forcibly again forced into a program. That seems a very unique, peculiar, or rather than strange example in the entire Indian politics. Now coming to the second aspect, as far as the Bharat Jodo is concerned, I think the Congress party is the fountainhead of all sort of separatist element in the post-Indian politics, whether it is on the issue of the caste, creed, linguistic provinces, from there to creating, they are saying, the hatred among the communities. Sir, I have said several times, when the Prime Minister of India officially said that the Muslims should have first right over the national resources of India, and this was a harmonious secularism. It's very strange. When 26/11 was done, and they have not taken any stance, presumably because that may not benefit BJP. As Barack Obama has written in his book, Promised Land, that was the peace and tranquility, for the peace and tranquility of the country. So the country has marched ahead, far ahead. The millennium generation who has opened their eyes in 21st century, now they are well informed, everything is on there, on their smartphone. If they want to verify, a number of things can be verified. So I think these type of strategy are not going to work in the new emerging India of 21st century.
Okay. Kailash Adhikari, the issue for Rahul Gandhi and for the Congress party is this, that at one point, yes, they were the principal challengers to the BJP. Yes, you can argue that, nationally to take on the BJP, there is no other alternative but the Congress party. But the reality of today's opposition polity is that a Congress party which is ruling in 2 states, Rajasthan and Chhattisgarh, and you have an Aam Aadmi party which is also ruling in 2 states, Punjab and Delhi. And today, the Congress, which used to be the principal opposition in Gujarat, which is the next big state going to polls, it's very well possible that the Aam Aadmi party is going to give them a stiff run for their money. So the Congress today is not only having to face the mammoth task of taking on this larger-than-life electoral machine called the BJP, but they're also facing a threat from below or from behind, which is regional parties and smaller parties who seem to be pulling the rug from under the Congress's feet.
Absolutely, Zaka. I believe that in today's time, it is very difficult for every one of us to say that Congress is the principal opposition party at the center, and that is the party that could give the BJP the so-called takkar for the national elections. Because, as you rightly mentioned, in power in 2 states, vis-a-vis AAP also in power in 2 states. And I mean, the entire might of the Congress party has been reduced to a regional party, whether the party likes it or not. Now, coming back to the question of the Bharat Jodo Yatra, I mean, it's time that the Congress should first think of the party Jodo Yatra. We have seen and we have debated a numerous number of times the amount of senior leaders who have left the party, and the latest being Shri Ghulam Nabi Azad ji, who was with the party since a long time, and also one of the senior most politicians of this country. So as Dr. Sudhanshu Trivedi also pointed out, that more than 50% of the population of this country is youth. And Zakat, all they want to see, today's voters want to see, is sincerity in the eyes of the leader. And that is what is lacking when it comes to the Congress party, where when people think about voting, they believe that are they actually serious about first themselves, and you have to be serious about yourself, and then you have to be serious about the public. Then only the voters can actually see it in their eyes. So more than the Bharat Jodo Yatra, भारत पहले से ही जुड़ा हुआ था. सरदार वल्लभ भाई पटेल ने भारत को जोड़ के रखा था. Had it been not for him, otherwise we would be divided princely states. So more than the Bharat Jodo Yatra, it should be first कि पार्टी को जोड़ना जरूरी है, तो ही वोटर के in the eyes of the voter you would be actually seen as a serious contender.
No, so I want to ask Radhika Ramaseshan. Admittedly, one part of Bharat Jodo would be to revive the Congress's fortunes, and they are an opposition party, they are in the electoral space, they are well within their right to do whatever they can to try and revive that party. But here is the problem, Radhika. we all know that in the next month or so, the Congress party is due to get its new president. The election dates have been announced, the result dates have already been announced. At such a time, when the entire Congress party's efforts, its attention should be who the next president is going to be. And certainly Mr. Rahul Gandhi should be throwing his weight behind whoever that next president is going to be. You know, attention is going to be deflected. Here in Delhi, you're going to elect a new party president. And then Rahul Gandhi is on this Bharat Jodo Yatra. I mean, at the very least, and this is the most charitable view one can take, this is just confused messaging.
Absolutely, Zaka. I mean, I think you framed the debate very well. There are two strands running through the whole debate. One is the Bharat Jodo Yatra, whose intention may be laudable. I'm not going into that. And the other is the impending organizational elections. They're probably underway to elect the next president. And time again and again, Mr. Rahul Gandhi has expressed his unwillingness, his reluctance to take on the post which he once held. Now, what is the purpose of the Bharat Jodo Yatra at this time? I mean, the issues that he has raised, namely inflation, divisiveness, a lack of communal harmony, unequal distribution of resources, crony capitalism. I mean, these were some of the issues that he raised in the Delhi rally. These can well be spoken of in Parliament. I don't think anybody is going to stop. He alleges time and again that the opposition is not allowed to speak in Parliament. You know, I mean, but if the opposition is aggressive enough, they can surely raise these issues in Parliament. You can hold public meetings. It's imperative to hold, to start interacting with workers, to start interacting with voters, to start interacting with people in Gujarat, where the Congress has high stakes even now. 30%, a little over 30% votes. I mean, not to be sniffed at. Instead, you launch this yatra from the south, and then it is going northward. And so what is the subtext? The subtext is that Rahul Gandhi is being relaunched yet again. For what? I mean, I can't think of anything but to position himself as the next head of the Congress, you know, despite his professed reluctance. Therefore, yes, the messaging is confusing, no doubt. And let me reiterate, the yatra's intent itself may be sincere, but what is very important, if the opposition, if the Congress wants to take on the BJP, is to craft a narrative that is weighty, that is credible, that is persuasive, and that is convincing. And on all these counts, the Congress has failed.
I'll get to this narrative in 1 second, because obviously, you know, you need the Congress party, Rahul Gandhi, they need to tell the people of India, okay, these are the problems, fair enough, and this is what the Congress party is offering as solutions to those problems. Right now, we don't see any of those solutions, but be that as it may, Aishwarya Mahadev, very, very specific, and I think this is the most critical part of it. The next big assembly election is Gujarat, and Radhika is right. The Congress historically has been the principal opposition for the last 30 years, certainly in Gujarat. But now the Aam Aadmi Party is threatening to, you know, pull the rug away from under the Congress's feet. And the Bharat Jodo Yatra does not go through Gujarat. I mean, what sense does that make?
So first and foremost, Zaka, I've heard both the previous speakers. I think when ma'am spoke about there's enough space in Parliament to speak about this, you know, the number of suspensions of MPs that happened over the previous session, one. And when the speaker before her, when he speaks about, you know, how the Congress party needs to fix itself and all of that, I think very well what is happening with the organizational elections are happening on their side. And the Bharat Jodo Yatra also, and Mr. Jairam Ramesh has made this emphatically clear, that this is not an electioneering platform, this is not a sloganeering platform, none whatsoever. The election preparedness in the in-charge state of Gujarat, Himachal, and even Karnataka, the work that has to be done is being done. Mr. Rahul Gandhi in this yatra, you know, Mr. Sudhanshu Trivedi also spoke about how he may hold no post. That does not matter. Common men have also joined this yatra, are willing to walk the length and breadth. And why are they doing this? He wants to speak and reach out to entire sections of society which have been underserved or been left out. Even in Karnataka, in the 22 days that he's traveling, he'll be going through tribal belts.
Aishwarya, I have a small intervention, but I think it's an important one. Can you today is the 7th of September, can you today with a degree of certainty say that Mr. Gandhi is going to contest to be the next president of the Congress party? Because if he is not, then all that he is doing is taking away attention from whoever the next president of the Congress party is going to be. I mean, this Bharat Jodo Yatra is going to be counterproductive to perhaps the most important election in your party in the last many decades.
Zaka, to be very honest, I would be happier and happy beyond a doubt, and I would like nothing better than Mr. Rahul Gandhi to contest these elections and come back again as the Congress president, because millions of us, including me, have been given an opportunity to represent my party on a national fora because of Mr. Rahul Gandhi. However, I think it is up to him, the choice, the leadership has spoken to him. And irrespective of what the elections are what the election procedure is, the electoral rolls are being prepared by themselves. Mr. Madhusudan has already spoken about what the process is. All of that will be happening. The elections, the PCCs, all the procedural work will happen as it has to. And Mr. Rahul Gandhi, however, is going to be on this yatra. And I do not think him and it's not just him, the number of leaders who have decided to walk this entire span of 3,000 odd kilometers is also massive. But none of that is going to come in the way or take away from the elections that are going to be held. That will happen simultaneously and happen to its side. And do not believe at any point.
Dr. Sudhanshu Trivedi, one of the things that the Congress keeps insisting is there is a certain inevitability to the Congress being the challenger to the BJP, because the Congress is the only opposition party that can challenge the BJP in multiple states. Many other opposition leaders may want to, throw their hat in the ring to be the next Prime Minister, whether it's a Mamata Banerjee or a Nitish Kumar or a KCR. But a Trinamool's appeal is not there in a Madhya Pradesh, or a JDU's appeal is not there in Kerala. It's only the Congress party which has cross-state appeal, and therefore the only one in a position to nationally take on the BJP. So there is a certain inevitability is what the Congress is saying, that ultimately it has to come back to the Congress party and Rahul Gandhi to take on the BJP and Mr. Modi.
I partially agree to this statement, because yes, it's fact that howsoever small representation of Congress may be, in Uttar Pradesh they might have won only one seat, they might have got only 2-3% vote, but 2-3% vote is there. But Mr. KCR cannot have 2-3% vote in Uttar Pradesh. Mamata Banerjee cannot have 2-3% vote in Uttar Pradesh. Congress can have even 2-3-4% vote in all of the country. So I agree that if there can be a center of gravity or there can be a sheet anchor for the opposition unity, it can only be the Congress party. But the paradox is that the Congress party is forcibly trying to project Rahul Gandhi as the leader. How can you think that the stalwart leaders like Sharad Pawar, like Mamata Banerjee, Mulayam Singh Yadav, Lalu Prasad Yadav, even Akhilesh Yadav, Mayawati, KCR can accept Rahul Gandhi as their leader? So the fundamental paradox in the opposition unity is where the leaders are big, the party is not effective. Where the party is big, the leader is not effective. So they cannot come out of this, and in the 137 years of the history of Congress party, this is the worst period, not only in terms of number of seats, in terms of credibility, because their leadership remained villain or hero, heroic or villainic, but for the first time they have become a matter of ridicule, which never happened in the 137 years history कि जो कांग्रेस को लीड कर रहा हो उसके लिए पप्पू जैसी संज्ञा प्रयोग की जाती हो. This is happening for the first time and Congress is not ready to accept it. So from Ghulam Nabi Azad and Captain Amrinder Singh to Hemanta Biswa Sharma to Koliko Pul to even Mamata Banerjee was part of Congress, Jagan Mohan Reddy was part of Congress. सब देखी जमाने की यारी बिछड़े सभी बारी बारी और इन्हें समझ में नहीं आ रहा.
No, so one of the things, and I'll ask this to Aishwarya before I go back to our analysts, the problem for Rahul Gandhi is also an issue of credibility, because when his closest friends, or at least people who are considered to be part of his inner circle, have all left the Congress party and joined the BJP or other parties, whether it is a Jyotiraditya Scindia, whether it's a Jitin Prasada, whether it is an RPN Singh. Most recently, we have seen people like Ghulam Nabi Azad and Javeer Shergill also quit the Congress and join other parties. My simple point is the credibility of Rahul Gandhi's as a choice to take on Mr. Modi falls flat because he can't seem to hold on to his own closest people. How will he then hold on to the whole country? How will he then Jodo Bharat?
You know, Zaka, I think politics makes for a lot of fair weather friends, and I believe when somebody's chips are down, and if the aspirations of these people around him were not able to be fulfilled, then they obviously moved on, and we wish them all the very best. A lot of them seem to be doing a lot across party lines, wherever they are. But to try and measure the merit of a man through the people around him previously, the big names that you know who have left and whatnot, is a disservice to the man who has brought millions of us into the fore. Like, he's brought a lot of us, given a lot of us the opportunities. We may not have the names, we may not have the backgrounds, the parentage, or even the lineage as a lot of other people. But I think, you know, for all the 10 people that have left, I can give you 1,000 odd, whether in all the frontals, who have come to the fore. And I think the one thing about the Congress party is, you know, the BJP may like to discredit us, throw us out and whatnot. And I think we're at a place where there is massive churn. And I think it is only inevitable that in a matter of time, and I think with the able leadership at the center, that we are going to revive, we are going to come back. We're fighting ready in Karnataka, to be very honest. And I think we have a very chance to make a comeback, and I think the BJP is trying to diminish it, but because obviously they also are in fear of what they can see happening in the near future, Zaka.
No, I believe Ghanshyam Tiwari is back on the line. Ghanshyam Tiwari, you know, one fundamental shift that's happened in Indian politics, certainly at the mass level. Narendra Modi for the last 8 years has been talking about Parivarvad, including, of course, in his recent Independence Day speech on the 75th anniversary, where he said these are the two ills that he believes are the biggest ills of this country, and he's going to wage a war on them. One on corruption, the other on Parivarvad. In a country where a majority of the population is young, is aspirational, Parivarvad strikes a discordant note. So the fact that Rahul Gandhi thinks almost by entitlement that he will be the challenger to Modi, that is not acceptable to a majority of young India, aspirational India, because they see this as entitlement, not as aspiration, not as meritocracy.
Well, two things are important, Zaka. One is that it is sad that when India is young, majority of Indians are young, the Prime Minister is hollow. That on the same day when he spoke about women and what the Gujarat government did, BJP did, their supporters did, celebrating rapists and murderers, cheering them, garlanding them. That shows the hollowness of the speech of the Prime Minister of India on the Independence Day. Amrit Kal, that's point one. Point two, that we come back to the original point, Bharat Jodo. The party for 8 years, have they fulfilled any of those things? Achhe din, sabka saath, sabka vikas, 2 crore rozgar, 15 lakh kala dhan. None of this is fulfilled. Farmers' eye doubled. None of this is fulfilled. Or everybody having a home, not fulfilled. In response, what are the parties doing? You saw Mr. Nitish Kumar, Chief Minister of Bihar, coming out. That was also part of Bharat Jodo, that he met chief ministers and leaders across the state. Have you seen Indian Prime Minister meeting leaders of different states cordially? If the Prime Minister starts believing that he is an incarnation of God, then people of India will teach him a lesson. And that is exactly what is going to happen in 2024. You fooled the people that you will bring economic prosperity and you destroyed harmony. You fooled the people that their children will have jobs and you destroyed their education. You fooled the people that the average Indian will have homes, and look at what is happening in the Silicon Valley of India, which is Bangalore. So the fact that we have elected a government
I'm reporting live tonight from Bengaluru, and you're right, the situation is not looking good. It's taken 3 days of a complete urban and civic mess. But I want to come back to the issue at hand, which is Bharat Jodo, and I'll ask Kailash Adhikari this. The Assam Chief Minister Hemanta Biswa today, in response to Bharat Jodo, said that India was divided in 1947 during the Congress's rule. If Rahul Gandhi wants to start Bharat Jodo Yatra, then he should do this in Pakistan, apologize for the sins of omission and commission of his grandfather, who Himanta Biswa says was responsible for India's partition. Now, please respond to that.
Absolutely right, Saka. I mean, we all know the history. And as I said, that Bharat Jodne ka kam Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel ne kiya tha. Otherwise, had it not been for him, we would be the different princely states. Jamnagar would have been a different princely state. Others would have been a different princely state. So I don't see anything wrong in what the Chief Minister of Assam has said. And more than that, you know, as I said, and I'll reiterate that fact, Zaka, as you have asked me, it's all about the sincerity. And as a young India and as aspirational India that you mentioned about, they need to see the sincerity, because if you're serious about yourself, then only people will take you seriously. We have seen instances and instances since the past so many years, like since 2014, it's been 8 years, where time and again, sincerity is not being reflected, neither from the Congress party or the people who have been heading the Congress party. Otherwise, why would the G23, the 23 people writing the letter would be there? Why would the senior leadership would leave the party? There has to be some reason. There cannot be smoke without fire.
No, so Radhika Ramseshan, you know, when on the one hand the Congress says, you know, the country is divided, there's politics of polarization. You heard what Ghanshyam Tiwari had to say, politics of polarization, social harmony is being disturbed, so on and so forth. But the fact is also, and I'm going purely by hard data here, if you were to look at NCRB data of communal incidents, it has actually gone down in the last 8 years. In fact, I believe, and I'll get Ghanshyam also to react to this after you finish, Radhika ji, that in the state of Uttar Pradesh, which is the biggest state in India, communal incidents have come down by 41% in the last 8 years. So either, I mean, both of it can't be true. Either social harmony and, you know, cohesiveness, all of that is being destroyed, or crimes are coming down, or communal incidents are coming down. Both of it can't be true.
Well, you know, it's very debatable, this whole business about social harmony being achieved at the cost of completely suppressing a whole community. And I will say that upfront today. You know, the police, the administration, the apparatuses are all working in a particular way, and we all know, there is no need for me to reiterate, there is also data to show that the minorities have been suppressed in state after state, and since I cover Uttar Pradesh very closely, I think they have been silenced. Yes, when there is a non-BJP government, the minorities do find a voice. They do tend to speak up. Their clergy often makes provocative statements, which does lead to, communal clashes, communal violence. But now there is not a squeak from any quarter. Is this the way? I mean, are you giving them this democratic space to say what they want to? And if they do say something seditious or libelous, the laws are always there to take action. But here, an entire community has been suppressed. We saw it during the CAA protests in the first regime of Mr. Yogi Adityanath. So I think, that point needs to be made very, very clear. Social harmony and social suppression are two very distinct factors, and they obviously don't coexist. So what is passed off for social harmony has been achieved at the cost of suppressing entire minority communities. We've seen it in Karnataka as well. We've seen it in Madhya Pradesh.
Please respond. We've seen that in incidents here in Karnataka as well. We've seen that in incidents in Uttar Pradesh. The point that people like Radhika Ramseshan are making is that there is a certain sense of unease among the minority community, and some is said, some is unsaid, and that is what Congress Party and Bharat Jodo is trying to amend.
I would like to explain this, what unease is.
So
you have said, you have several times heard that Jai Shri Ram has become a war cry. But I challenge, none of the secularism ka surma has said, Sartan se juda is a war cry. Sar kaat diya gaya. No. It's a secular, peaceful harmony of secularism, Sartan se juda. But Jai Shri Ram is a war cry. And as far as the other thing is concerned, Radhika ji, I would like to remind, in the other states which are not BJP ruled, then how the minority is getting their voice. Palamu in Jharkhand, the minority is getting voice when they are saying the majority in this village is ours. So school mein prarthana band ho jani chahiye.
So please take
in
action.
Perambu district, Koltar village of No, Arey, Jharkhand is not BJP government, sir, madam. In Tamil Nadu, in Koltar village, Perambur district, let me complete the sentence. In Koltar village, Muslims have said, now we have become 70%, mandir mein puja paat band ho jana chahiye. And the DMK government succumbed. Then the Madras High Court came and they said it is not, there is no logic that you have become 70%. Koi secularism ka surma uttar se dakshin tak bola. I challenge. Not even a single word. And you are saying the minority was now they are feeling suppressed. Yes, I want to say. Why? Because before 2014, India was not a secular state. It was a partially Muslim state. Otherwise, I challenge, name a single secular country in the world in which the when the provisions of Sharia are having constitutional provision. जिसमें मौलवियों को सैलरी मिलती हो, ट्रिपल तलाक हो, तलाक के बिद्दत हो, जिसमें हज सब्सिडी मिलती हो, हलाला हो, and not only this, if Supreme Court is coming anything against Sharia, then Supreme Court is trounced in favor of Sharia. I challenge, if you quote a single secular country in the world, it happened only in Muslim countries, I am ready to apologize. Now we are making this a true secular country.
Ghanshyam Tiwari, respond to that. There is a certain
is going out. And there
is a certain double standard.
One sentence can I add?
Yeah, is what
Jakka, can I add one more sentence?
Yeah.
Jakka, can I add one more sentence?
Okay.
One more sentence.
Yeah. Yes.
They want to say that the common civil code is against the minorities. I would like to say common civil code is already in existence in the state of Goa, which is a highly Christian dominated state. They are not having any problem. So there is nothing to do with those things that anti-minority. The problem is with only the second biggest majority of the country, no minority. The Persian, Jews, Buddhists, Sikh, Christians are having no problem.
Well, the most
Ghanshyam Tiwari, if saying Jai Shri Ram is considered, as Sudhanshu Trivedi said, is considered as a war cry, then how come nobody comes out and condemns Sartan se Juda? That in a democracy, in a constitutional democracy like India, there should not be any place for such slogans. But Samajwadi Party doesn't condemn it, Congress doesn't condemn it.
It is a good rhetorical argument, especially when you start your conversation on a fake news. He mentioned Dr. Manmohan Singh. On 10th December 2006, a clarification was issued on the statement that BJP repeats again and again and again as a liar spinning a yarn, saying that what Dr. Manmohan Singh said was referring to Muslims. Here is a learned spokesperson, probably the most learned spokesperson of Bharatiya Janata Party, ruling party, 18 states, comes to a national television and spins a lie. Then he does not respond to a question that what is happening in Uttar Pradesh, that a journalist is in jail, houses are bulldozed, fake encounters are created, and toxic and foolish slogans like love jihad are created. The state goes to election on hate speech of 80-20, which is celebrated by sections of media. And here he defends it. This is the people who will defend the rapists and murderers of Bilkis Bano. Their governments will defend it. The Prime Minister was in Gujarat after these rapists and murderers were garlanded. Did he utter a single word? In his chief ministership of Gujarat for 12 years after the Gujarat riots, did he do anything for Bilkis Bano? You tell me, Sudhanshu ji, जब आपके कार्यकर्ता ये मर्डर और रेप कर रहे थे, या आपके कार्यकर्ता के समर्थक ये मर्डर और रेप कर रहे थे, कौन से नारे लगा रहे थे? आप बताइए। और जब उनको ये माला पहनाया जा रहा था, आप लोग कौन से नारे लगवा रहे थे? आप लोगों का कोई भरोसा नहीं है। इस देश को अपनी नाकारापन से बचाने के लिए उसका ध्यान नहीं न जाए कि बच्चे स्कूल नहीं जा पा रहे, लोगों को रोजगार नहीं मिल रहा, देश में अमन शांति का माहौल नहीं है, उससे बचाने के लिए आप कोई भी भाषण दे सकते हैं, आप कोई भी नारे लगवा सकते हैं, आपके पास जवाब नहीं है, किसी के पास ये जवाब नहीं है। आप बताइए दुनिया का एक देश बताइए जहां पर रेपिस्ट और मर्डरर्स को 15 अगस्त इंडिपेंडेंस डे इस तरीके से एक सरकार।
Okay, Sudhanshu ji to respond, please. Yes. Yes, Ghanshyam, we heard you. Yeah.
I consider Ghanshyam ji as one of the learned spokesperson. But आज आप क्या बोल रहे हैं मान्यवर? You represent a party. लड़कों से गलती हो जाती है. And you are having audacity to say. Before taking any apology for that. इसमें तो कोई if and but नहीं है ना, fake news नहीं है. Mulayam Singh has said after the dreaded rape converted into murder. A second thing. Now let me complete the submission, sir. आपके बोलते हैं शफीकुर रहमान वर्क तालिबान मेरे दिल में है, and you talk about communal harmony. K.T. Hassan, your member of parliament, says when the age of marriage of girls are raised to 21, अरे ये इनकी चाल है, तुम लोग 4 शादी नहीं कर पाओगे. And you have not spoken a single word. And you who tried to withdraw the cases from the terrorist who has planted bombs in the UP district courts of Varanasi, Lucknow and Faizabad, and the High Court has snubbed you, then you have withdrawn, and you are talking about the national security and others. साहब आपको तो बहुत सोच समझ के बोलना चाहिए. योर लीडर मुलायम सिंह हैज सेड ओपनली इन पब्लिक कि इससे ज्यादा मैं क्या करवा सकता था मुसलमानों के लिए कि मैंने 16 हिंदू मरवा दिए थे. एंड सेकंड थिंग ऑन द इशू ऑफ डॉक्टर मनमोहन सिंह स्टेटमेंट, क्या लाइज की बात कर रहे हो भाई? कर दो नोटिस उन सारी मीडिया संस्थानों पे. न्यूज़पेपर्स ने रिपोर्ट किया था. All newspapers have said Muslims should have first right over the national resources of India. Have you given notice to anybody? Then don't speak lie on here. And the matter is 15 years old. It's not the matter of 15 days back. So, sir, aap, or you are from the Harvard.
Okay.
You have forgotten. Just 3 days back, India has become the 5th biggest economy in the world, surpassing Britain. And you are saying that ये तो BJP का डाटा नहीं है, ये तो IMF का डाटा है. इसलिए person like you should try to, आप SP को डिफेंड कर रहे हैं, सोच समझ के डिफेंड करिए SP को भाई. बहुत उनके प्रॉब्लम है SP के अंदर.
Okay.
बहुत ऐसे स्टेटमेंट है कि आपको
I have to get a closing comment. I have to get a closing comment. Radhika Ramaseshan, net. Let's come back to Bharat Jodo. Will this result in the intent with which the Congress party seems to have set out to achieve? The political intent seems to be to create a buzz around Rahul Gandhi, to create a buzz around the Congress party, and perhaps to give out this perception, to give out this impression that if BJP needs to be taken on nationally, it's only the Congress party that can do it. Yes, of course, other opposition parties will also have to revolve around the Congress party, but the ambitions of a Mamata Banerjee or a KCR or a Nitish Kumar are going to be restricted maybe to their state and maybe to 1 or 2 neighboring states. But beyond that, it is the Congress which has to be the fulcrum to take on possibly the NDA in 2024. Will it result in that stated objective?
Yeah, the old assumption that it is only the Congress jiska jhanda har gaon mein hai and it is the only recognizable, identifiable party in the opposition spectrum, I am sorry, it doesn't hold anymore. If the Congress was even a fraction more powerful than what the assumption makes out to be, it would have won at least a few elections against the BJP. That has really not happened. I mean, let's not go back to Madhya Pradesh and Chhattisgarh and Rajasthan. We've been through that. Rahul Gandhi should make up his mind whether he wants to helm the party or he wants to hand the baton over gracefully to another person and allow that person to conduct the party the way he wants to, not have a repeat of UPA 1 and UPA 2. And I think you know what I mean.
I'm completely out of time, ma'am. I'm completely out of time. I'm sorry for curtailing the debate, but I'm completely out of time. And I agree with what Radhika said. I think it couldn't have come at a worse time, because if Rahul Gandhi is not going to run to be the next Congress president, then this Bharat Jodo is only going to take away attention from whoever that next president he or she may be, and whatever work that person cuts out for himself or herself and for the Congress party. That's a wrap. On the other side, my colleague Bari Shakil will take you through Brass Tack Superfast.